Good morning, everyone. It's March 6, 2018. I'm Eric. Here I am at Zero Heads, and this one comes out of shtfplan.com, written by Jeremiah Johnson, who happens to be a retired Green Beret. Retired Green Beret warns: prepare for war, globalism, socialism, and communism versus freedom. And of course, we all have our ideas what freedom is. I don't necessarily agree with everyone else's version, but peace sells, but who's buying? Megadeth. If you wish peace, prepare for war. History, it repeats itself and is constantly ignored before it does so. Ignored by the elements that lead up to the repeated event, although they blossom akin to flowers right before the eyes. One of the problems is doubting it. The doubting that the event is happening is really happening. One of the elements that leads to that doubt is the event transpires almost imperceptibly with such incremental slowness that it does not recognize or is not recognized as a single event that is happening. In this case, we are talking about the conversion of our society in the United States to full-blown dictatorship, or a complete loss of rights guaranteed under the Constitution. Such a loss that eventually leads to a dictatorship or a tyrannical, oppressive government. History shows us, and we ignore it. The Founding Fathers have been degraded and ridiculed by the society, the media, and their communist masters are creating. Their moral weakness are upheld at every chance in substitution for the enormity of the sacrifices they made to form the basis of our great nation's government. The Constitution of the United States of America took more than 11 years to create. These communists would have you believe that the Founding Fathers were a pack of illiterate morons who could not control their own lascivious appetites, who owned slaves and were elitist. These communists have been infiltrating the United States for 100 years, destroying the moral fabric of our society and by destroying the family. The communists infiltrated our government and camouflaged themselves in the names liberal or progressive or some such, as Bernie Sanders, declaring softly, "I'm a socialist." The government is infested with communists, plain and simple, and these communists/socialist traitors have deintegrated our nation and sunk it into an abyss, aided by their lackeys such as the Cloward and Piven, Abby Hoffman, Saul Alinsky, and other union leaders. They further destroyed it by what they allowed. The senators, congressmen, justices, and those in successive presidential administrations, bolstered by oligarchs and other magnates, what they did not foster or create, they allowed in the media and in Hollywood to be rammed into our eyes and ears. These communists have destroyed the family structure, the borders, the culture, the religious and social traditions, and the history that has given us identity and solidarity with one another. The bottom line: J. Edgar Hoover and Joseph McCarthy had it right 100% right. Globalism is not simply international trade or commerce. Globalism is global governance. Governance is rule. Government is supposed to derive its power from the consent of the governed, not by lying, theft, or by bypassing the Constitution of the United States. Globalism is a nice way to phrase it, akin to a happy kumbaya singing globe of each different genotype holding hands with a smile in a conga line. Hoover and McCarthy would have called globalism what it is: socialism on the soft side and communism on the concrete reality side. The aim of these communists is to have one world government. To do this, they must first destroy the United States. In order to do this, it must be deep battle in every echelon, from the pastoral initiative teams, where's that end here, to the illegal aliens crossing our borders, to the planned siphoning and sale of our natural resources to the Chinese, Russians, and other foreigners, to the crafting of laws that enable the UN and the rest of the globe to gain more ground in the U.S. Militarily, we've been downsized, with the quality of our service members diluted, with behaviors such as homosexuality and lesbianism being permitted, as well as transgender service members and women placed into combat roles. Now, there are many examples of women kicking some ass in combat roles. A lot of the girls over in Ukraine and that they are combatants, and while they may not be able to take a man on one-on-one in a physical, throwing punches kind of fight, they sure can shoot you from a long distance. Might want to keep that in mind. Our combat seasoned officers and non-commissioned officers in command positions have been replaced with politicians. The most effective weapons in our arsenal, such as the SR-71, the A-10, and the Tomahawk, for example, have been halted in production and or mothballed, as well as rendered ineffective with a lack of parts or maintenance. The Air Force is severely short of pilots. We are overfunded, but without enough return on our investment. Economically, the petrodollar has been on its last breath for years, and the breathing is agonal. We are being eclipsed by newer markets and new alliances. Cryptocurrencies are a scam that will eventually be used to control and keep track of everyone's wealth when all the governments nationalize it. Even worse than fiat currency, it doesn't even exist except electronically and with nothing to back it whatsoever. To complete the fundamental transformation, as it was termed by Obama, there must be mass unrest, civil unrest, and potential racial strife and riots. The perceived differences between people are being exacerbated by the media, by the politicians, and by the socially constructed brain patterns of the youth, dissenting for no reason except to disagree with no motive other than the causes they have been herded and manipulated to uphold. The greatest example of this was the NFL kneeling initiated by Colin Kirkpatrick to protest injustice that did not even exist. Let me stop right there for a moment. There is absolutely nothing wrong with what Colin Kirkpatrick did. He peacefully protested the murder of his own people in the streets of this country. Now, most of you know that I am at odds with the black community because of their hatred for white people, but let's be real. I mean, Kirkpatrick went to a veteran, a war veteran, and asked him the best way to protest what was going on. And the war veteran told him to kneel during the national anthem. Okay, this test program backfired because the NFL and the powers that back them underestimated the populace that still has enough nationalistic pride and care for the country that they wouldn't tolerate it. Yes, every avenue is being tested, crafted to see how they will handle the population when the big goal is finally attempted. The most necessary item in the plans to destroy the United States. They must have the guns. They must. They cannot collapse the United States and subjugate her to the rest of the world, make her a part of the communist one world government until they have the guns. We are seeing this materialize. Look at what the President of the United States has said, that guns can be confiscated without due process of law and in complete violation of the Constitution. The states are already doing it with legislation and by executive order. They're going after the guns. They go through a list of books that it'd be a good idea for people to read, but who knows if we even have that kind of time. A war within the United States is coming. When this occurs, we will be attacked by a foreign nation or nations. Consider how far we went in the past 8 years under Obama and how fast it all occurred. When war comes intentionally, domestically, and with other nations, it will occur just as swiftly. Those who survive the initial onslaughts will have to decide and take a side. The works just mentioned can give you the information you may need to help you with that decision now, if you have not already made it. And the guns? Better hang on to yours. If you don't have them, then others will make the decision for you. Those who beat their rifles into plowshares will plow for those who do not. Benjamin Franklin. Kill the state and live free.